by the way, that started at 8 in the morning.
What?
The music started at 8 in the morning. Did you guys catch my good friend Ken Dashow this morning doing his show on Q104 down in the Apple Jam stage?
Did you hear me talk about my meeting of John?
Yeah.
At 8:30?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mark told the story, the same one he told right here on
Friday
our
night,
stage.
I told for the second time only in this country that I told the entire story of how I met John in 1974, and that was the beginning of this.
Yeah.
50 years I'm doing this.
Unbelievable.
So I looked at Ken and said, I guess my 45-minute story has to be 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Had an idea. Here we are. See you later.
Right.
No, but I really enjoyed, Mark, when we sat down to discuss this. Of course, you and I, over the years, many nice chats and lunches and rounds of golf and everything. But sharing that story with your peeps, it was great, and it was so cool to hear your memories of, like, again, I know it's like asking Paul, what's your favorite song that you've done? And he says, well, it's like trying to pick your favorite child. I would never ask you to pick just the 3 or 4 best guests, because we've had so many great guests. Yeah. But when I said, how about some great memories, events that happened on the stage, some of them were just, it's mind-boggling how many great musical moments have happened here. The Peter and Gordon reunion. Who was there for that in New York, right? Donovan, coming and playing with the band. The world premiere of Frida Kelly's movie. Who's seen that? Yeah. Frida's movie in Chicago. So many, great moments in Beatle fandom happened, all because of my friend Mark Lapidus. Give him a round of applause, please. That's for you.
I missed that. That was Greg Bissonette wanted to say goodbye.
Okay.
He has a gig tonight in Alberta, Canada.
Yes, he's in Vancouver
cross country.
Tonight.
I guess cross 2 countries.
Yes, he's in Vancouver tonight. He's kind of an in-demand guy.
What a guy. I mean, he's like one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
He just exudes energy, and he's a nice...
I know, no, his energy, I mean, we had him on the Fab Forum one night, and afterwards when we were saying goodbye, I said, if we paid more, could you be more energetic? He's like, I could use the money. No. He's a barrel of enthusiasm, talking about, you talk about the dream gig, as a drummer, playing with your favorite drummer. And Ringo, of course, thinks the world of Greg, and that's why Greg has been in the All-Star Band for, see if I can do that math, I guess for 14 years. Okay, Ringo changes up the All-Star Band every few years. Greg has been the constant for 14
Wasn't Greg there
years.
for Ringo? So 2010, right?
No, 8 in the All-Star Band.
16 years.
8, 6, I don't know.
But we saw him in 2010 at Radio City.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, what a day that was.
Our special guest, Mark Rivera, put that together.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Was anybody here by chance at that show when Paul came out to do Ringo's 70th birthday? Couple. I was there. All right, a bunch.
I've never been in the building that rocked. It was like teenagers. We were all teenagers screaming at the top of our lungs. And the building, Radio City Music Hall, the biggest one in the country, 6,294 people.
No, it was insane.
And all screaming at the top of our voice and jumping up and down. And I was, I didn't know, I was just waiting. And I saw in the dark of the stage, I saw the Hofner bass.
That was it, the Mona Lisa.
That was it.
There it was, yeah.
I spotted it first.
Well, you guys got time for a good story about that day, Paul and Ringo?
Chris is not here. Oh, wait. Let me call Chris while you tell us.
Okay, so that day, right, Ringo was in town to do a show at Radio City, okay? And with the All-Star Band. Okay, Chris is here. I'll make it brief. And after they did their rehearsal in the afternoon, Ringo took off and went to his hotel. The band stayed behind, and that's when they had Paul come in to rehearse. Okay, so after Ringo left the building, all the fans dissipated. There was no one out there except one person. Not me, okay, but my cousin, okay, who's a regular fest attendee. And she has a picture taken with Paul, and later on it was published as, in some of the local papers and things. And he came out at the end, and she was still waiting out there, and he rolled down the window of the limo and said, "Come here." He said, "This is a surprise for Ringo. You can't put this on Facebook or tell your friends or do anything. This is a surprise for Ringo, and I'm trusting you to keep a lid on that and not tell anybody." She was like, "Okay." You got it. You know.
Did you get an autograph?
Oh yeah, she got an autograph and a picture and everything
That's
else. And that picture has run in some of the the Beatle fan sites and things like that, telling the story afterwards, of course. But you know what, my cousin, she's a no good, dirty liar. She lied to Paul. She told someone. She told someone. Okay. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So bless her heart for that, Nikki. Wherever you are, bless your heart for that. All right. No, Simon is going to do that. We're going to bring to the stage a couple of folks that you may have seen that movie we were just talking about. Chris O'Dell is going to come up here, and she's going to have a nice intimate conversation with the director of that film, another good friend of the fest, another good friend of mine in all the way from England, Mr. Simon Weitzman. So please, welcome to the stage, Chris O'Dell and Simon Weitzman. Hello, my dear.
And have we had a good morning so far? Yes. Good.
Did you guys see the band? Were you up this morning? That was amazing. I didn't even realize who it was when I was getting my coffee.
So
They're
cool.
Amazing.
So cool. And did you see Black Rabbit last night or yesterday afternoon? I tell you, those guys are going to be huge. They're going to be huge. They're amazing. Good. So we're here to talk about this lady, Chris O'Dell, and her life. And she and I have been working for, what is about 14, 15 months now, I guess.
Yep, something like that.
Yeah.
We filmed in January of
January and
last year.
February of last year. So we went all around the places that Chris used to work and various other places as well, didn't we? We went down to Cornwall.
Well, we went we went to your place, which I don't even know where that was.
My place. My place is in Luton, which is
Okay,
sort
we
of
went to
slightly,
Luton.
it's
We
kind of
went
like
everywhere.
Hawaii, but without anything. So we had a great time, obviously, making this film, and I've got to know you very well, and we laugh like hyenas usually on a Sunday evening when we kind of do our catch-up talk on the film. And but I think for the audience, it'd be really nice to know, because you come from a little place in Tucson, Arizona, or Arizona's area. So can you tell the folks a little bit about your earlier life, to start with?
Well, I grew up actually in Oklahoma. I was born in Indiana. I think I have another Hoosier here in the audience, maybe. And then we lived in Oklahoma for a time, and then we went to Tucson. And at that time, no one knew where Tucson was or cared. It was so unknown. So the fact that it finally came out in a Beatles song was always pretty amazing as far as I was concerned. And I went to high school, and I thought life was pretty dull in Tucson, so I decided to go to LA, which was the next big city. And I drove there, and coincidentally, I had no goals, nothing. It was go, get a job. I was 18, 19, no plan. And I ended up working for Dot Records, which had such great stars as Liberace, Lawrence Welk, people like that we all grew up with, right? and then met Derek Taylor, and the rest is basically in the documentary.
It is in the documentary, but for the people that are here today...
I'm not going to tell them. They have
Okay, thanks for coming. Great. So for the people that are here today, you're growing up... I mean, what kind of music are you aware of when you're growing up?
Oh, I'm very into Motown. Obviously, it started out with, Paul Anka and all the kind of stuff that was around in the 60s. But then I got a taste of Motown, and I really, really found that was the music that expressed what, for me, I was feeling as a teenager. Because when you're teenagers, you don't know what you're feeling most of the time. You just have angst. And so I was really into that. And then up until the Beatles came on the scene. And when they came on the scene, that changed everything and everyone knows that who was around at that time. Everything changed. So I always say I went from Smokey Robinson, who wanted to go to bed, to the Beatles, who only wanted to hold my hand. I don't know what that would be called. A step of innocence?
Yes, going backwards. So, I mean, before obviously before the Ed Sullivan Show, were you at all aware of the Beatles or who they were?
I think, if I'm correct, there was already, the record was out already, so I think everybody knew who they were because I Want to Hold Your Hand and Please Please Me, I think both were out. I'm not a historian, but so yeah, I knew who they were. And it was one of those things I think anyone who was around at that time will remember. As kids, all we wanted to do was watch the Beatles, and our parents were like not quite getting it. But anyone I've ever talked to is like, can never forget sitting in front of that little TV screen and watching them, and what an amazing, you too, what a thrill that was. That was like, wow. And you remember we said they had long hair?
Yes, the long but short hair.
Really long hair
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah, amazing. And do you, I mean, what kind of emotions did that evoke in you when you saw them on the TV?
I think that what was so different was that the music was different, for one thing. It was something that we hadn't really heard. The look was so different. I mean, we'd never seen anybody, and they were British. And we didn't have that experience. That was a crossover back in the 60s that you just, we weren't used to it. Okay, there were a few, no, that was the beginning of the British invasion, actually. So that had I remember the first thing I did was I bought the first album and saved it. It was in June, I think, and I wanted to share it with all my friends, so I had a Christmas party in June for everybody in all my high school friends, and that was my gift to them, was to play them the album.
Oh, amazing.
I don't...
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know that they paid attention, but I did. So I looked up Liverpool. I thought, what is this Liverpool? So I went to the encyclopedia, looked up Liverpool, and my only ambition was to go to Liverpool. I didn't think, oh, I want to meet them. I just thought, I want to go to Liverpool. So I got a pen pal from Liverpool.
Wow.
And that's how I sort of got to know about it. Was I a fan? You bet.
I love the thing, because I used to have pen pals when I was growing up, and now it's what I call it is kind of like really, really slow texting, isn't it?
It's very slow texting. For those of you who don't know what a pen pal is, raise your hand. We'll come talk to you later.
Yeah, I think we're in fairly safe hands around here,
Yeah.
actually. So obviously you've seen the Beatles. They've been on TV. What's going on in your life as a young person at that point, and what happens over the next few years?
Well, music was everything at that point. That was just all that, and we had music in my house. My sister, who's sitting right there, we grew up with my dad, who loved music, and his range was a lot of country music. He was very into country. But also, we got to hear like Ella Fitzgerald, and I can't even think of everybody at that point. But so there was music in our house a lot. Yeah.
And did that? I mean, when you were saying that you went on, because there were things that you did, there were places that you went before you came to England. So where did you go? And because you had some sort of touch point into the music industry through going
Only
to
just.
Yeah.
I went to California. I decided I was in beauty school. And I thought, oh, this is really not doing it for me. So I went to my dad and my parents, and I said, I would like to get the refund from what I haven't used for beauty school and buy a bus ticket to Los Angeles. This was 1967, early 68. And my dad said, after a few days, he said, I'll drive you. So my dad drove me away from home, basically. And, I look back now, and I don't know how he did it. I had met this band that played in Tucson at a club, and they said, if you ever want to come to L.A., you can stay, if we're playing somewhere, you can stay in our flat. So he had a flat in Hollywood, and I stayed there. He wasn't there. They were in San Francisco. They were called the Plymouth Rockers. And so I stayed in his apartment, and I met the landlady said, oh, I have to go for a job interview, and I don't want to work. I want to get unemployment. So I went with her, and it happened to be at Dot Records. So I didn't go there with the intention of getting into the music industry. It never even occurred to me, but it came to me basically.
So that did give you some experience, at least, of kind of getting sort of like a rough sort of outer shell of what the music.
No, absolutely none
No,
whatsoever.
fantastic. I'm glad we're mirroring the film.
No, it is a lot like this.
Yeah.
Not really, because they put me in the record club. So every time back then there were record clubs and you paid every month and you could choose an album. God, a shake of the head. And my job was, before the record was sent, I had to make sure they didn't owe any money. That didn't teach me a lot.
Well, I mean, it's something, isn't it? It's a little bit of a taster.
Well,
a loose taste. It's kind of like when you go in and you go into a pub, like an English pub. You say, "What does that beer taste like?" And they give you that much.
It was a taster.
It was a taster.
And my boss was Lawrence Welk Jr.
Yeah. So that's important.
That was as close as I was getting to celebrity at that point. Yeah.
So, remind me how you then get to meet Derek Taylor, because it's just the most incredible chance thing, isn't it? The whole setup to it, it's just incredibly like the universe it sort of cannoned you out into some amazingly obscure situation.
Couldn't have planned it. I quit Dot Records, went to work for a guy named Ted Randall, who put out a tip sheet, which back in those days, he was paid by the radio stations to recommend new singles to put on air. So he did a tip sheet for all these radio stations that were subscribing to him, and I would type up the tip sheet and Xerox it. And all of the promotion men from the different record companies in LA would come in with their newest singles. And one of them was a promotion man from A&M Records named Alan Ryder, who later married the Bionic Woman for a minute. Yeah. And anyway, he said he was supposed to come over one evening to see me, and he said, "Oh, I want you to meet me at the La Brea Inn to meet Derek Taylor." I didn't know who Derek Taylor was, but he said he works for the Beatles, and I'm like, yeah, right. Nobody knows the Beatles. This was 1968. It's like everybody knew everybody in Hollywood, so I just figured, if they say they know the Beatles, they are lying. It was that simple. So I argued with him and said, "No, I don't want to come, I don't want to come, I don't want to come." And finally I went, okay. So I put on my bell-bottom pants and I went to the La Brea Inn and met Derek Taylor, who had been the press agent for the Beatles and was going back to the opening of Apple. That was before Apple opened. So he was leaving. His family had already left and gone back to England, and he was about to leave. He had been working for A&M. He was very instrumental in putting together the Monterey Pop Festival, and he managed or did press for the Beach Boys, the Byrds, tons of people. He was an amazing personality. And so we got to be friends, and I was driving him around because he couldn't drive. And finally he said, "I think you should come to London." And I thought, yeah, right, sure. Because you know what? Back then we didn't fly across the waters that much. It just didn't happen to do international flights. So it took a little prodding. I think if anyone was here yesterday morning, I was living with a girl named Terry Garr, who was an aspiring actress. And if it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't have gone to London, because she just said, "You have to. I've been there. You got to go." So Derek phoned me several times, once from New York when he was with John and Paul, and said, "Come." And Terry said, you got to go. So I sold my record collection. And somehow my dad sold my life insurance policy. And that's how I got my airplane ticket and flew to London. And for the first month that I was around Apple, or at least it was certainly a long time, I didn't really have a job. I just helped out wherever I could. So if one of the secretaries went was sick, I would do all the secretarial work for whoever it was. Or when the switchboard operator had to take a break, I would do the switchboard. I made myself so available. And every day, because Paul was there every day, he would come through and he would just jokingly say, "Are you looking for a job?" But kind of one of those throw-off lines. And I would go, "Huh." And one day I went, "Tell him. Yes, I am." But that what didn't get me the job. So anyway, that was the first days and months at Apple was really me trying to find my place there. But within a short time, Peter Asher hired me to be his assistant, his personal assistant. So I worked for Peter for almost the entire time that I was at Apple as his personal assistant. And we did A&R, so we were listening to all the tapes that came through to decide who we might be interested in signing. And in fact, I don't think we signed anybody that came through as a tape. I think everybody came through the Beatles, one of the Beatles, actually.
There was one that you missed.
Who?
Well, there's an incident, isn't there, where you're writing to somebody to say that they don't really qualify to be...
Oh, the letter, yeah, David Bowie, we turned him down. And, yeah.
I mean, what did he ever do, to be fair?
I can't, I mean, I even asked Peter that, why? But we don't remember what he was doing back then at that period of time. It changed.
Laughing gnome, mostly, but yeah. Well, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's again, the universe aligning, and it didn't align at that moment, did it?
No, it didn't align, but later it did.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we were looking at was when we were chatting away when we were making the film is there's just a 4-year period between Chris watching the Beatles on the TV as a kid, really, and then 4 years later she's working with them. And that's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, yeah, I guess it is insane but I can't, even after all these years, I can't honestly say that I did anything for that to happen other than say yes. I said yes, and I got on a plane. But other than that, it just kind of had a life of its own. So karma, maybe, I don't know.
So obviously you're working there, and it's towards the end of your work with the Beatles. Of course, they're on the roof. They go up on the roof, and it's a freezing cold day. I mean, we've been there. It's freezing, and that's like on a not too bad day. But so tell us a little bit about the circumstances of you ending up on the roof with people like Kevin Harrington and others.
Okay. Well, we got a memo saying that none of us, all of the employees, we were not allowed on the roof because the roof they were afraid it would fall in, to be honest. It had been lots of, what's it called when you support it? It was supported.
Oh, struts, yeah.
Yeah, and it was pretty flimsy at that time. So we were, sorry guys, you can't go on the roof. And that was the way it was. I think Barbara Bennett and Lori, the switchboard operator, they went off shopping, to lunch and shopping. But the cameraman, Tony Richardson, came up and he said, "Are you coming up?" And I said, "No, I'm not allowed to." And he went, I said, "It's only people who are working." He said, "Well, you are. You're my assistant."
And there you are.
And there I was. But I want you to know, the whole time I was up there, I was so afraid that somebody was going to tell me to go back downstairs. It's like, okay.
I mean, obviously, they're not up there for that long, are they? I mean, did it feel like forever, or what was the kind of, or did it just go by in a flash?
No, in fact, how many minutes was it?
I don't know, it's
20 some minutes. Yeah. First of all, nobody knew it was going to end up being the event that it turns out to be. Who knew we'd still be talking about it after all these years? They were just going to film. It was to add to the documentary that Michael Lindsay Hogg was doing. So, I remember, the things I remember is them playing. They were great. I mean, it was amazing. It was so cold, and yet they played so well. Paul wearing a little jacket. I mean, it was amazing. But it was also fun because really there were only 4 people in attendance as an audience which are the four of us sitting by the chimney. Everybody else came out of all the windows. I mean, they were just coming from everywhere. You could see them suddenly coming out windows, people down on the street going, what's that? And my feeling was, oh, this is so cool. People are going to get to hear the Beatles live all over the West End of London. Remember, the amps were like this, so I don't think the whole of the West End heard it, although I think Ray Daggett, the
course.
policeman who we have on the next part of the film that hasn't been shown later in the film, he does actually say that they could hear it throughout the West End and traffic was all blocked
I mean,
up.
there's one of the friends of the fest is a guy called Tom Murray, who of course did the Mad Day Out photographs, and he was in the Times building at the time, which is quite some distance. He could hear it across London, so
I
he
had
could
no
hear
idea.
it. It was amazing. I mean, considering it was like, but I mean, Ray was an interesting character when we were interviewing him. I went to sort of interview him, and of course he was only 19 at the time. This guy he'd only qualified for 6 months, and they sent him down to break the Beatles up. So he was like, he just went, right, and just turned up. But I thought he handled it really well, actually.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He's an amazing character. He was going to have to arrest them, but then
He's on. Well, the problem was, of course, he's telling them, "I'm going to have to arrest you. I'm going to have to take you down. You can only do one more. So just one more." So he's in conversation with Mal Evans the whole time, and Mal's sort of, "Oh look, there's a bird. Look, there's another bird," or trying to distract him. But in the end, he said that he couldn't have done anything anyway because they were on private property, and if he'd actually arrested him, he would have got into the most incredible sort of trouble, given that he'd only been actually on beat for 6 months. So,
Yeah.
but it's amazing. And the other thing, just very quickly to let you know, is that when Let It Be came out as a film, he was actually stationed at the premieres of the film. So people are watching the film that he's in, and then they're coming out, and it's his beat. So he's coming out of the cinema, and they're going, "We know you." So that was amazing, really.
That was lovely. That was really nice.
So I'm going to shoot us a little bit further forward to sort of, obviously you meet Patty Boyd early on, become very, very close friends with her, and then you go, I think it's Kevin as well, you go and live at Friar Park. What was it, how did that circumstance come about that you went to live there?
Well, it's a long story, and we don't have enough time for it completely, but I left Apple to go back to LA for a short time with a musician called Leon Russell. And then I came back. And when I got back, Alan Klein didn't really want to rehire anybody who had been there before. He was getting rid of that group. And so Neil Aspinall said, "Oh, you can work for me." And then about a week or so later, George called me up and said, "Would you like to come and live at Friar Park?" And I said, "Okay." Packed my bag and off I went.
Did you have any perception or concept of what this place was like?
Oh my God, nobody could have a concept of it. I thought that the what's it called, the lodge at the gate, the gate lodge, which is this little one that his brother Harold lived in. I thought that was Friar Park. I thought that was it. And George went, no, that's just the front lodge. And then we came to the next lodge, the middle. No, that's just the middle lodge. And then you do this turn, and it's impossible to describe Friar Park. Impossible. But it was colder than the roof. They had no heating. We slept in cots. I spent the first week in a sleeping bag. And Patty and George had a mattress. But there was no furniture there at all in the house, and no heat, except for little burners that happened. So it was really camping out in a house of about 120 rooms. Choose your room.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's just the most amazing rambling, what we call in England a pile. But many historic things, to the end of the Beatles sort of is around this building, isn't it? I mean, a lot of news comes into this building. So I remember you used to put the papers out, didn't you? There used to be papers on the kitchen table and of news that was happening. So you were talking to Patty about things, weren't you, in that relation?
Yeah. Well, there was so much. I'm just wondering, do we want to do a Q&A at all?
I was going to ask,
Because we've only got
do you want us to wrap up? Sure.
Let's do a Q&A.
Okay, so anyway, just very, very quickly, just to say to everyone that a lot of what we're talking about will obviously be in the film. Unfortunately, yesterday's Q&A, there wasn't any question that came up where we thought, oh no, we didn't put that in the film. So anyway, a lot more of this story will be revealed to you in the film, which hopefully we will have in the next few months. And I'm going to hand Mark the mic, and he's going to take questions.
Okay. Any
Yeah, I
questions?
thought it'd be a good idea to do a Q&A. So if you have a question for Chris, raise your hand. Right here. What was your question? Where are you from, by the way?
Dallas, Texas. Yes, I'd like to hear a little bit about your setup, the date they sent to your door. The date?
Set up a date to your door?
Show up and it was...
Oh, you mean when oh no, that was when Derek didn't want me to be alone because I'd only been there a few nights, so he set me up with somebody that they had already signed to Apple, and so I'm in my hotel room and there's a knock on the door. I open the door and I go, "Hi, I'm Chris," and he went, "Hi, I'm James Taylor," and I went, "Oh, hi, come on in."
Why don't you tell them about the music that he may have created right in front of your eyes in your bathroom?
Yeah, he wouldn't go home. And so at some point I don't know if anyone remembers, but we would take the ends off of the jumbo orange juice cans and roll our hair in those. Well, he just wouldn't leave. So I thought, okay. So I put my hair in these jumbo rollers. I thought this should turn him off. He stayed. Sweet as can be. And I woke up the next morning and he had somehow managed to fall asleep. And then that morning he went into my bathroom because of the acoustics, and he was continuing to work on a song, which later became Carolina on My Mind. So
Whoa.
he wrote that in my bathroom.
That's quite a story. Hi, yes. Where are you from?
I'm from Ottawa, Canada. I'd love to know, did you ever meet your Liverpool pen pal?
No, I didn't. But I met some other people from Liverpool.
Yes, right next. Are you from Canada also?
Columbus, Indiana. We are Hoosier girls. Chris, I'm curious. Oh, Chris, I'm curious about this. Obviously, you have fantastic memories. You must also have fantastic memorabilia over the years. Have you thought about what's going to become of this? I mean, you could probably do a Chris O'Dell museum, but have you thought about where all of your memorabilia is going to end up?
I have. In fact, on February 24th, I've got about 4 or 5 items going up for auction with Heritage Auction. One of them is an acetate that George gave me. It's actually 2 double acetates of the Red and Blue albums. And he gave those back to me in the 70s. I never even knew they became albums. So those are actually on auction with Heritage this month. And the rest of the stuff I'm starting to catalog. My son has the best piece, though. I gave it to him for Christmas. It was a note when John and May and Ringo and all the people were living at the beach house in Malibu during the Harry Nilsson album. There was a note, and it said, "Ringo going shopping, John," and it was signed John, May, and Mal, and he did little stick figures. And so that I gave to my son. I said, "This is for you. You've got to keep it. It'll mean more years later, you know." But a lot of the stuff I wasn't thinking, I got all this, I got to keep all this stuff. I was just keeping it because it had memories to it, which is, I guess, why they call it memorabilia.
I guess so, yeah. And where are you from?
I live in California, thanks. Hi, Chris. Yeah. Do you have any recollections of the other American at Apple, the house hippie, Richard DeLillo?
Richard DeLillo, we
Yeah.
are still in touch. Really? Yes, he lives in Cleveland.
Cleveland?
Yeah, we talk a lot. In fact, he was telling me he was working on another book. Richard and I were put together the first day I got to Apple and working on a scrapbook, an Apple scrapbook, if you can believe it, pasting articles in scrapbooks. That's where we were at back then. Yeah, I love Richard. His book's great. The first one to write a book about Apple, The Longest Cocktail.
Yeah. Richard was a guest at our first LA Beatle
I
Fest in
remember.
1976.
Do you know I came to that to
Did
see
you really?
him? Yeah.
Wow.
I went down to see him. I
Oh
remember
my gosh.
it. Yeah.
You were there.
I was
didn't know.
there.
He didn't introduce us. Son of a
No, he
gun.
didn't.
Wow. I didn't see. I learned something. Any more questions? Yes. All the way in the back. Where are you from?
I'm David. I'm from New York City. When you say, when you, just take the mic away. Okay. When you were staying with George and Patty in Friar Park, how did you travel back and forth between there and Apple? Did you?
I didn't. I was hired to go live at George's house. So I still received my paycheck, but I never left Friar Park. My job was, I mean, it turned out that Patty and I would, you know, do things like we polished the light switches, which were monks. They were monks' faces, and they're still there, I'm sure, like the monks' faces, and the switch was the nose. And we'd do things like polish those, or Patty would look for furniture to try to get some furniture for the place.
We have time for one more question. In the front. And where are you from? We haven't had a double state yet.
Pittsburgh.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you could tell the story how the song Miss Odell came about.
Oh, okay. I was supposed to go, George had come to Los Angeles, so this I guess was 1970, I can't even remember now, I think it was 71. Well, it was before Bangladesh, so it was 71. And he had come into LA, he was staying at the beach at Rick Nelson's house. And he called me and said, would I come, you know, come on and see me. And I thought he would have all these people hanging out, and I thought, I don't want to do that. Patty hadn't arrived yet. So finally, after a couple of phone calls, I said, okay, I'm coming. So I did. I drove out there, and there was nobody there but him. And he made a nice vegetarian meal, and we sat and we talked about everything that had been happening, because this is after the problems with the Beatles when they'd already broken up. So we were kind of talking about what was going on. And then he told me about his conversation with Ravi and about Bangladesh, and how he was, at that point there wasn't a concert idea. But anyway, we're having this long talk, just the two of us, and suddenly goes, oh, I almost forgot, I've got something for you. And I thought, ooh, wonder what it is. And he went and got his guitar, and he came back and he sang it to me. And I was so, I mean, I didn't know what to say, honestly. It was just like suddenly somebody sings the song. And he said, I'm going to make you famous. And I went, okay, what am I going to do? Okay. But anyway, it was amazing. I don't think I knew how to react at that point. And then later, during that summer, he sang it again. When we were, he would just suddenly break out into it. And then I think that next year he recorded it. And as you may all know, he kind of got the words wrong, so he started laughing and continued to laugh. So my song showed up once when I was on an airplane under the comedy music section. Oh, you don't have a microphone.
No, I'll just speak to myself. So basically, everything that we're talking about is in the film, and the film will be coming out a little bit later in the year, hopefully during the summer. And we'll look forward to being able to tell you more about that. But I've been really honored to be able to work with this wonderful person who I absolutely adore, because she is one of the nicest people I have ever met. And one of the funniest as well. So I really hope that, we will be able to come back and tell you more about it. And in the meantime, look out for a film called, Miss Odell. So we will look forward to seeing you then. Take care, and thanks for listening today. Thank you.
Penny Lane.